Welcome to the Ice Cream Convos Podcast, where we serve delicious scoops of entertainment and celebrity news. I am your host, Xaviera.
And I'm your co-host, Carla.
And we are super excited because we are doing a very special episode of the Ice Cream Convos Podcast because, y'all, I got into the Chatty House. And if y'all don't know what the Chatty House is, it is Clubhouse. It is this wildly popular app that people are using now for social networking and connecting with people and building and sharing great thoughts and all that. But if you end up in the wrong room, you'll be talking about why women can't find a good man. Listen, Clubhouse gives you everything. But on Sundays, I am a part of a room, and I believe it starts at 11 a.m. and it's called Women Supporting Women. Mm-hmm. And it's like where all these different women come in and they're doing all these wonderful things in their own lives, or they're aspiring to do really great things. And we come in and we share what we do. We introduce ourselves, we share what we do, who we are, and we have the opportunity to connect and network with each other. Well, nice. Today, our guest, Miss Samantha A. Holloway, Esquire, she was one of the ladies in the room who introduced herself. And from the moment, I don't know what it was, Carla, you know I'm an energy person. I love people. And it was like from the moment she came and introduced herself and started speaking, I literally was like, oh, excuse me. I want you on the Ice Cream Convos podcast. She was like, okay. And literally less than a week later, we are here, and I want to do a very special episode of this podcast. So first thing I want all of you to do is to share this podcast, because I know most of y'all look for us on Monday. So what I want all of you to do is to share this podcast, let people know that we are on with an excellent and amazing attorney. Like, she is one of the top in the business when it comes to divorce, when it comes to child support, when it comes to child custody, when it comes to grandparents' rights. She is the OG, top of the line in the game. So this is your opportunity. If you have any questions or concerns, or you want to know, or you have questions you want to have answered, today is your day, because we coming through in the year of our Lord 2021 for y'all.
Yeah, all day.
So without further ado, I would love to introduce our guest today, Miss Samantha A. Holloway, Esquire. Welcome, Samantha.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty. I can't hear you guys anymore.
You can't hear us anymore. Okay.
2 seconds. Let's see if there's something going on with the system.
You want to go out and maybe come back in and see if that'll work? Oh, she just said she can't hear me. You want to go out and come back in? Let's see. I always do that. Why do I do that? Start doing sign language.
Sorry.
Yeah, so if you are tuning in while we are getting these technical difficulties together, just let me know where you're checking in from. I see some of our favorite ICC friends popping in. I see Deborah. I see Terry. What's up,
What's up, y'all?
I see Leanna. And I see TT. Hey, TT. That's my baby.
Hey.
So while Samantha is getting, but you know the devil is busy, but we're not going to let him have it today, because everything was perfectly fine until we went live. But that is okay. That is okay. She will be right back. Okay, so we have Marilyn checking in. All right, so let's go ahead. Oh, she can hear us. Yes. Hey, girl. Hey.
I can hear you now.
Awesome. Listen, I told Carla, I was like, oh, the devil not going to win today, because she could hear us perfectly fine before we went live.
I know that's right.
Absolutely. So as I was telling Carla before we brought you on, I met you on Clubhouse, and when we were in this awesome group called Women Supporting Women. And as soon as I heard you speak, I was like, she has to be a guest, because, Black excellence was just oozing out of you. And I was just like, yeah, she has to be a guest on the Ice Cream Convos podcast. So, we are so great to have you, and we're so excited to have you here. So tell us a little bit about who Samantha A. Holloway is.
Okay, no problem. And thank you so much for that intro. I really enjoyed Clubhouse. I'm a little addicted now. I go on several times a day. So I'm so glad we were able to connect that way. So like you mentioned, my name is Samantha Holloway. I am an attorney here in Atlanta, Georgia. I have a law firm here with my law partner, Tiffany Bell. We are a Black woman-owned, Black woman-ran law firm. There's 7 of us here. We primarily handle cases in family law, which deals with divorce, custody, child support, paternity, you name it. I feel a little bit like that Shirley Caesar song.
Divorce, child support. You name it.
Right.
Yes, that is okay. That is
So that's
okay.
pretty much what we do on the family law side, but we also handle bankruptcy cases, and that deals with, individuals that need some protection under the law because they can't, for whatever reason, pay their debts, whether it's a house being foreclosed, a car being repossessed, check being garnished, things of that nature. So we kind of help people protect their financial peace through bankruptcy for businesses as well as individuals. I am originally from New Haven, Connecticut, but like I said, I reside here in Atlanta on the South Side.
Shout out to Connecticut. Shout out to our Connecticut ICC friends. Yes.
Yes. And I am a adopted daughter of the South Side of Atlanta. So
awesome. Awesome. Now, when did you make your way to Atlanta?
Well, my family has this joke that one day I'm going to run for president because I've lived a few places. So I was born in Houston. I was raised in Connecticut. I went to college here in Atlanta at Emory University. I went to law school in Little Rock, Arkansas at the University of Arkansas in Little Rock. Then I went to DC to work for the federal government at HUD. Back to Atlanta to work for the federal government at HUD, and then eventually opened our own law firm here.
Wow. Now, how long has your law firm been open?
Well, we've been open. I had my own law firm for a few years, but our kind of combined law firm has been open for 3 years.
Wow, congratulations on that. My girl, when she says she been everywhere, you've been everywhere.
Yes, most definitely.
You have been. Yes. And it was funny because I really wanted to have you on the show for a number of reasons. Number one, I just wanted to introduce you to our audience because a lot of us have legal questions or legal problems, and we don't have someone that we could pinpoint or someone that we can go to. So I really wanted to introduce you to our audience to let people know that your firm is here and your firm is available, for those who need help. And you mentioned bankruptcy. I totally forgot about you doing the bankruptcy side, especially with us in the panorama. That's what I call the pandemic. She probably was like, what is a panorama? Yeah, with us being in the panorama, the Panasonic, all of that. So yes, and a lot of people are really struggling financially. Have you seen an increase in bankruptcies because of that?
Well, fortunately, we've seen things have been steady or even a slight decrease because the federal government did take some steps to prop up the economy. They put a moratorium on evictions, a moratorium on or given the forbearance for mortgages. You see a lot of bankruptcies when people are about to get evicted or their house being foreclosed. We also had the $600 additional payment for unemployment, and then unemployment was extended so that it covered a host of other, people like independent contractors and stuff that usually weren't covered. So we saw that infusion of cash and programs in the economy initially. The problem is a lot of those had expired, and this new bill that Congress gave or they approved at the end of last month doesn't go as far as the other one did. So unless the new president or new Congress, enacts like the $2,000 payment or increase the unemployment, I predict that bankruptcies are going to increase as those protections expire.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest worries that I've saw come across TV and on the news because the moratoriums are ending. And it was like we didn't have anything in place, to help us. So I'm hoping. So if it wasn't bankruptcies, what did you see an increase in? I already know, but I'm going to ask.
Okay, so we saw a dramatic increase in the number of divorces. So, and it is what it is. I mean, you have situations ranging from people who, they stayed together because they had a side piece, that was their outlet. That was where they got their, release and comfort. And once everybody was under everybody was able to dibble and dabble, they kind of decided to end. Or, a lot of people, it worked in both ways. Some people felt like this time was amazing because they got this uninterrupted time with their spouse and children. Other people got this uninterrupted time and realized this is not it. So,
True.
that kind of worked. And then we've also seen a lot of contempt and modifications because COVID brought a whole bunch of extra issues. Like if you exchanged your child, every other weekend or during school breaks, but what happens when school moves out? So that became an issue. People were out of work, so child support became an issue. So the family law side went extremely up because all of these new issues arose. And then, like I said, people were just over it. And I can imagine, the pandemic is stressful enough. Could you imagine being in the house with somebody that's like,
yes. So, in Ice Cream Conversations, a lot of times I report on celebrity divorces, and a lot of times I usually see irreconcilable differences. Is that the main reason that you see most often, or is there a different one that I don't know about?
Well, that's a good one. So, and I can only speak to Georgia because this is where I'm
right.
Georgia probably has, I want to say, between like 8 and 12 different grounds that you can file for divorce. It could be because of mental or physical abuse. It could be because of somebody has an alcohol addiction, a drug issue, and it could be because of infidelity. It could be because of bigamy. They could already be married to somebody else. Y'all be surprised how frequently that happens.
Wow.
Wow. But the most common grounds for divorce, at least here, is irreconcilable differences. And that's kind of a catch-all. Nobody's at fault. It's just basically that your marriage is broken. There's no hope of reconciliation. And y'all just want to be divorced. And that's fine. The court accepts that. So, yeah.
All right. So we have a question already, and I want to get to it because sometimes the questions move a little quick and I end up losing something.
Okay.
But our ICC friend, Leanna, said, what about divorce and an incarcerated spouse? Yes, children, but incarcerated father, not in the same state. So I'm thinking there's a divorce, there's an incarcerated spouse who is the father, there's children involved, but he is in a different state. So
actually, that's an interesting question because when I mentioned the different grounds for divorce, incarceration can be one. So if somebody's going to be incarcerated 15, 20, now they're going to be locked up for 90 days. Don't come in the court talking about I want a divorce.
I can't do it. I can't wait 90 days. I can't do it. I can't.
If you can get on another ground, it's not incarceration. But if somebody's going to be incarcerated for an extended period of time, you can put that as a grounds for divorce. And just typically when you divorce somebody, the court has to have jurisdiction over them. So normally you can't go and say, I'm going to divorce you in Georgia and you live in, South Africa.
Okay.
But in that particular case, there are children involved. And so if you and your children live, let's say in Fulton County, Georgia, but your spouse is incarcerated in federal prison in Colorado, you can file your divorce typically in Fulton County, Georgia. You just have to get that person served, and wardens will serve someone in prison. So your lawyer can coordinate that so that person can get served while they're incarcerated.
So the children are the game changer. Like they're the game changer in that.
They are. When you deal with interstate issues, a lot of times it's going to be based off of where the children live. I see a lot of cases, for some reason, Texas. A lot of people live in Georgia and Texas.
Okay.
So you'll have dad or mom lives here, kids lives in Texas. And there might be a dispute about custody, a dispute about child support. And when we have to determine which state to bring the case, we look at where the children live, and typically a child's home state is where they've lived for 6 months or more. Okay. So that kind of sets everything in motion.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Samantha. And Leanna, thank you so much for your question. If anyone else has a question, just feel free to put them in the comments and I will make sure Miss Samantha answers them for you. So since we already talking about some children and because I've been a baby mama in my day, right? Okay. And one of the most difficult or frustrating things for me was actually filing for child support.
Okay.
because, I know in most cases child support is based off of the income of, I guess it's both parents. You look at the income of both parents and then kind of, I'll let you explain that, how it's kind of determined. But in my particular case at the time, I was receiving, and I'm almost embarrassed to open my mouth and say, but I was receiving a $10 check a month to care for a child. 10 as in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, $10, $10, right? A month for a child. And then I got it increased to 13. Okay, I can't hear you again. I think you muted yourself by accident.
Okay. Sorry about that.
There you go.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, so talk to me about how child support is determined for those of us who, are dealing with that.
Yes. So, like I'm always say in Georgia, because I have to add that cross.
Yes.
So in Georgia, it is based off of the income of both parents. Some states base it off of a percentage of a parent's income. So it might be 23%, 28%, something like that. But at least here in Georgia, they look at, I was going to say mom and dad, but it could be mom and mom or dad and dad. But they're going to look at, parent A and parent B's income. And the legislature has a certain amount set based off of that income. So if mom makes $5,000 a month and dad makes $5,000 a month, there is a chart that says when the parents make $10,000 a month, this is how much child support should be for one child, two children, three children. And so once you have that number, we have a whole Excel worksheet for this. Once we have whatever that number is, let's say that number is $1,000 for one child. Then we'll look and say, well, both parents equally make up the $10,000. So each of them will pay $500 for child support. And so if you have the child, you essentially pay the $500 to yourself. And that person that's the non-custodial parent would pay the $500 to the custodial parent. It gets a little trickier when you add in, more children, because the amount might not be whole, like 1,000, or your percentages are not equal. You could have one parent who makes $8,000 a month and another makes $10,000 a month to come up with that 10. So that's typically how child support is calculated. In an instance, and I don't know your particular case, but where somebody is getting like $10 a month, it's usually that there is probably a child support order in for more than $10 a month. But for whatever reason, that person isn't making the income to pay it. It could be they're working under the table. It could be that they aren't working at all. They're receiving some sort of disability or government service, whatever, and only a percentage of that is taken out. It could be that person is just going in and paying $10 a month. The interesting thing about that, and people have to understand, child support is not like your light bill. You can't just put $10 on it and hope that they're not going to cut it off. And I don't know why people think that, but that's not really the case. If your child support is $500 a month and you're just paying $10, you still owe $490, and they're going to potentially take your license, lock you up, suspend your passport. You can't go on the cruises because you didn't pay that $490. That $10 doesn't really move it. It just, your total just keeps adding up. I've had people call my office. Their kids are in their 30s and they owe $100,000.
Okay, because it's so funny because my dad said to me, he was like, baby, Carla's laughing because she knows how my dad talks. It's like, baby, they tried to lock daddy up last week for child support. I was like 28 years old. They tried to lock daddy up. I was like, oh, I didn't even know there was a child support order.
Right.
I didn't know. My mom passed away when I was 5. So I didn't even know that there was a child support order in place. But listen, Samantha just told y'all, all my ICC kings out there, pay that child support order. Or my queens who have child support orders, pay it. Because it does not go away. They try to lock my daddy up.
Not disappearing.
And the thing is, and I don't know who you were raised by, but that person can get child support. So if grandma is out there raising the children, grandma can get child support from mom and dad, because whoever's taking care of the child can get it. Regardless if they're the mom or the dad. the thing with people, the thing people need to know, especially the guys or whoever the non-custodial parents are, is that you want to make sure that the child support stopped when the child turned 18 or 20 or whatever, 21, whatever your state has, so you can stop the clock. So now you got a certain amount. It's not every month accruing. So we know, okay, it stopped at this amount. Okay. The other thing I would suggest is go to court. I promise you, before they were going to lock up your dad, they sent him several letters in the mail. They may have called him if they had a phone number. They'll send a summons and say, go to court. A lot of people are scared to go to court because they think they're going to get locked up when they go. Mm-hmm. But if you call the number on the paper and talk to those people, when they start talking about arrears, they're talking about maybe like $50 to $20 extra on what you owe. So if you're still paying and you got like $10,000 back, it might be, an extra $20 or $50 to help you catch up. They're not going to come into court and say, you need to pay $10,000 right today. Most people don't have it. Yes. So yeah, just make sure that you respond to those letters. Call the lady. Talk to her about your child support. Let her work out a payment plan for you before you get to the point of having your license suspended or getting locked up. Boy, they're gonna want their money, even though the kids are grown. The other thing I just thought about this is pay your taxes. So if you're behind on child support and you file taxes, like most guys, I don't want to say most guys, most non-custodial parents say, well, she's gonna get the money anyway, so I'm not gonna file. That's exactly why you need to file, because if you get $5,000 on the earned income credit or $1,500, that chips away at the money that you owe. So it takes you nothing to file it, and it'll stop, all of the other foolishness happening later on if you don't. Right.
Good grief. Girl, you done, listen, where were you at? I needed you 26 years ago. I should have been like, Samantha, I know the Lord got you out there, girl. Just where are you? I needed you in my life 26 years ago. But we have some more questions coming in. Now, I want to come back to grandparents' rights because you mentioned that, and one of my ICC readers wants you to go a little bit more into grandparents' rights and child support and things of that nature. But our ICC friend TT says, a single mom of a 15-year-old girl and her father walked away when she was 18 months old, went for a DNA test, and now he wants to take the mom to court for full custody. Does he have a case?
I wish you could see my face.
She can see it. She can see your face. She can see, she can see it.
At least in Georgia, custody is determined by what's in the best interest of a child.
Okay.
If you haven't been in the child's life for 14 years and 3 months, or 4 months, and you've been sporadic, you haven't financially supported. Even if you have financially supported, the court looks at 17 different factors to determine what's in the best interest. It is likely that, they won't be able to prove it because they don't know the child. Right. But I would suggest that you talk with a lawyer, even if you just do a consultation, just to talk about what your chances are, what may have happened, and, what could potentially happen. But I have seen people file for custody because they think if I have full custody or joint custody, then I don't have to pay child support. So this could be a ploy for him to reduce child support or eliminate it. I don't know because I don't have your paperwork. Right. But talk to a lawyer so you can talk about your specific, your specific case, and they can kind of give you a strategy for that.
Carla and I, over the years, we have seen some celebrity cases, and we won't call people by names because we'll keep it cute. But we have seen some celebrity cases where the dad has, where I'm going, right? Okay.
One is right off the top of my head. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Exactly. I have two at the top of my head. Okay. Where we have a celebrity who has a baby outside of their relationship. Y'all probably can use your context clues. And then in order to make their main relationship work, they go and get full custody of the child so that they can push the mom out of the picture. And then they can just take this child, and them and the wife that they should have stayed at home with in the first place can live happily ever after. And there was a and I'll holler at you off on the side, Samantha, because you're here in Georgia, and one of them was a big deal in Georgia.
I'm trying to figure out.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
Somebody, but I don't know what time.
There's one, but in this particular case, the mom literally has started a GoFundMe. She was petitioning online for help because based off of her finances, she didn't have the equity or the money to fight this giant who can come in with a bankroll. And it was just a very sad thing. And because of that, you would have thought it was my cousin or my sister, because I'm big mad still about it, when you see these situations. But I'm glad to see that there are 17 factors, but there are some cases where I think moms get railroaded if they don't have an excellent attorney on their side like yourself, or if they don't have that bankroll to fight big time papa, and those cases are always sad.
Yeah, I would definitely say always consult with the lawyer if the other side has a lawyer. Mm-hmm. And most lawyers can do a consultation for $150, $250, $350, where you can get an hour of advice and guidance on how to proceed. Almost every county or jurisdiction has a law library where you can sit and read and learn things. You're not going to know it 100%. You didn't go to law school, but you can sit and read and learn. If you truly don't have any money, most places have legal aid. And I know their resources are like real thin, and they qualify people and they might not be able to help. But if it were my child, I am going to do whatever I have to do to figure out how I can keep my child. So I would try legal aid. You can also Google sliding fees, sliding scale fee attorneys in your area. There are some places, they call them unbundled legal, where they might just come to a mediation for you as opposed to, or just a final trial. But you can kind of Google those lawyers and see if you can find somebody that can help you. And GoFundMe is good, but it should be a last resort because nobody is going to be as passionate about supporting your case than you.
That's true.
You can do.
Yeah.
There might be a lawyer who takes your case pro bono. Or there might be a lawyer who takes your case on I wouldn't say contingency basis, but they can take your case and ask to get the fees from the other party. So in Georgia, you can ask for attorney's fees, and under one of the circumstances, you can show where you don't have the money and they do, and the court can make them pay a portion or all of your attorney's fees. It's a little tricky on how you do that, and it's not guaranteed. But if you talk with the lawyer and they kind of look at your case, they may be able to say, yeah, I think this one the judge might approve, because they don't approve them all, but they do approve some of them.
Wow. I really appreciate you, Samantha, just mentioning the fact and breaking down and detailing ways that people who may not have that finance, that financial stability, how they can still get some type of representation, because a lot of people are out here just feeling helpless because they feel like they can't afford an attorney. I mean, it was a time in my life where I felt like I couldn't afford an attorney. And, and Carla would keep saying, you got to get an attorney. And I'm like, but I can't afford it, and, so I thank you for just breaking down all the different ways that they're, the options and avenues for you to still get some type of representation, so you're just not out there by yourself and just feeling helpless. So I appreciate
it. And
then
also, once you talk to a lawyer, ask them about different payment plans. Like our office, we offer a payment plan so that you can pay on it monthly. Now they have legal financing. I saw an email through that PayPal has some sort of legal financing now. So you can get financing through PayPal. You can, and then the interest rates are going to be higher. They're going to look at your credit. But there are different ways that you can pay for it. One thing I don't like is when people say, well, I can't hire a lawyer because it's expensive. You don't even know how much it costs.
Sure. Yeah.
Reach out to the lawyer, find out how much it's going to cost, and see what kind of payment arrangements they can make with you.
Right. Wow, thank you so much for that, Samantha. Okay, so we have, let's circle back around to grandparents' rights because that's where I fall into the
Okay.
picture.
Okay.
So I know that you mentioned earlier, that grandparents do have the opportunity to receive child support if they are the primary caretaker for the child. If there is a situation where a grandparent ends up having, I guess, temporary custody, but it's like unofficial. For instance, as my great grandmother would call it, I was raised by my great grandmother, surprisingly, right? Because my mother passed away when I was 5. My grandmother was still working full time, and my dad was in the wind until they caught up with him a couple years ago. No, I'm kidding. But he was in a band. He was, a Rolling Stone and all that good stuff. But we're good now. And, she would always just say, well, you know what? If you just fall in my lap, I just got to take care of you, right? So for the grandparents who end up with grandchildren, great-grandchildren that kind of fall in their lap, what rights do they actually have, or do you suggest taking some type of legal measures just to ensure some type of legal support, or just, I'm trying to say it, but I don't know if I'm saying it right. Carla, if you could help me out.
Well, you have to look at it. There are 3 potential avenues that you can see. But the initial question is the grandparent, number 1, just seeking visitation, or is the grandparent 2 seeking custody? And those are 2 different things, because sometimes grandparents just want visitation because, for example, I've had a lot of grandmas call me because their sons are incarcerated, or maybe in a situation where your son has passed away and now you have a mother that won't allow you to see your grandchild. So sometimes grandparents just want visitation, and then there's no child support attached to that. You just visit them every other weekend or on Christmas, just like a parent would.
Can I stop you right there? Okay. So if the grandparent, as far as the grandparent right, if the grandparent wants visitation, is there a requirement that the grandparent can take the child out of the house, or is there just a requirement that the grandparent can come visit?
So there's kind of informal things and then legal things. So informally, that could be a restriction that the custodial parent has. That could be an agreement that you guys have, because sometimes grandparents take their grandkids out of the state. So, whatever y'all decide is what y'all decide. But if you got a court-ordered visitation, then typically any sort of court-ordered visitation is usually outside of the house unless it's supervised. So that kind of, if y'all can't reach an agreement and you are going to court for the visitation, then that's kind of how that'll be done. I do want to say, though, your U.S. Constitution has been interpreted to mean that parents have the right to parent their children how they see fit. So if a parent says you can't take the child out, it would be difficult for you as a grandparent to override that unless you show some things. And that's why I was going to go into the 3 different kind of ways.
Okay.
If there is a situation where a child has been abused or neglected, or you feel that their health or safety is in danger, then typically you would call, like the Georgia equivalent is DFACS. And they can open up a dependency case in juvenile court, where they can see, does this child need to come under the care of the state? And they may not necessarily be placed in a foster home. They could be placed with one of their kinfolk, which could be the grandparents. As long as you're, capable and able, you meet the DFACS qualifications, they may put the child with you. So that's kind of a dependency through juvenile court. The other way I wanted to mention that grandparents typically get custody of their grandkids is through the probate court. And that's being appointed as a temporary guardian. So you might have a situation. I'll tell you a great situation when parents are deployed. Sometimes both parents are deployed, and they may go down to the probate court and get a guardianship. And that way grandma or granddad can stand in the place of the parent, and you do certain things like enroll the child in school. If you just have a child and it's not your child, it may be difficult to do those sorts of things, or to set up any sort of benefits like Social Security or whatever you need. So you need to have some paper. And a lot of times guardianship is a quick and easy and cost-effective way to do that. The only thing with guardianship in Georgia is it can be revoked at any time. So I have seen cases where, let's say a parent may be on drugs. And so they may say, well, I'm going to give my mom guardianship. They go down, they do the paperwork. Mom gets the guardianship paperwork. I mean, the temporary guardianship. Daughter then cleans herself up. She comes back and she wants her child. Now the child's been living with grandma, 10 years, and grandma's attached, and you don't really know if the daughter's really got her stuff together. But as a parent, you have the right to parent, so they can come at any time and revoke that. That's the thing about guardianship. But kind of at the top would be getting custody. And that would typically require you to go in Georgia in Superior Court. Or I guess it could be done in juvenile court too, but go into Superior Court and get custody of a child, and that's permanent custody. And you could share that custody with the other parent, or you could just have that custody. If you're given temporary or permanent custody through juvenile, or maybe even through Superior Court, child support would attach to it. There's typically not a child support attachment in a temporary guardianship situation, unless there's already a court order for child support in there, and they can kind of give that money directly to you.
Okay, so Samantha, let me ask you this. If a family member wants to get temporary guardianship, is the immediate parents, the mother or the father, are they required to be a part of that paperwork in order to obtain guardianship?
They can sign, one of the parents can sign it. It gets a little tricky, and that's why it's kind of, you have to talk to a lawyer to get kind of the individual facts. Okay. Because at least in Georgia, we abide by the old saying, mama's baby, daddy's maybe. Mm-hmm. So unless the dad has gone through a legitimation process, which I can kind of go into a little bit later. But, typically mom is the one that's giving over the custody, because under the law, the child is always hers until it's proven that it's dad's. Right. But when you do that guardianship, there is a process that you have to do where you have to list the father. There's a whole registry of putative fathers. So potential guys that could be the father, especially when you're doing something, even in juvenile court, where someone's, they're looking to adopt a child, or a child is independent. So that's when they're also looking into the dad as well, like who is the dad. So it really, really, really depends on the facts of that particular case.
Okay. All right. So since you mentioned DNA, let's slide over to DNA. I know all the brothers like, y'all talking about DNA?
I mean, that's right.
Yeah. So let's slide into DNA. What would you suggest for a young king or old king who is not sure about the paternity of a child, but we see so many cases where a man is put, and unfortunately we see it, where a man is put on child support. He has all these arrears, because he's like, I'm not sure if that's my child. And you think it would just be as simple as, well, bruh, just go down there and let him swab your mouth and clear things up. But, what rights do men have, I guess, when it comes to DNA testing and paternity?
Well, I'm going to go back to a point I made before. Okay. Read the paperwork. So if you get put on, let me back up. When a woman, a mother, will go to child support services, child support enforcement, and say, I believe Johnny Smith is my child's father, I want to put him on child support. Mm-hmm. They're going to look at the birth certificate. Did Johnny Smith sign the birth certificate? Is there a paternity acknowledgement form where Johnny Smith signed that at the hospital or afterwards saying, this is my child? They don't have those things, or they don't have both of them. But let's say they have a birth certificate and Johnny Smith signed it. They're still going to send Johnny a letter at Johnny's house and say, baby mama came down here to put you on child support. Is this your child? Check yes, check no. You want a DNA test? Right. Because we can give you a DNA test. The problem is Johnny never responds to the letter. So they're still going to proceed with the case if they can serve him, because they're serving you with this stuff. They can serve you and you don't respond. They're going to say you had the opportunity to dispute that this is your child. You chose not to respond. We're going to say it's your child. we're going to set child support based off of your income, and they get your income from the Department of Labor. So your job has already gave the Department of Labor your income. You choose not to show up with your check stubs. They still going to calculate it. And then a lot of people find out about it once their check gets garnished. So I would say start from the beginning. Once you get served with that paperwork, or you get a call or a letter in the mail, respond. Doing a DNA test, like if I were to just go to a DNA place, down the street, it's about $350 for a DNA test. It's not cheap. If child support enforcement, if they contact me and you do a DNA test, I want to say you're probably paying between, I think it's like 60 or 100 and something. I mean, it's significantly reduced.
Yes. Wow.
So you can go through that process. If it's not your child, then that's fine. You just out $100 or whatever. And that's a lot cheaper than, $50,000 in child support. So
yes, it is.
Take the test. And if at any point you're thinking that this is not my child, then you really need to see a lawyer. Even if the order has been given and they're taking the money out of your check, still contact a lawyer. They may be able to file something to kind of get a DNA test done if you really have reason to believe that's not your child. The problem is people say that's not my child because they don't want to pay, but
he don't even look like me. Look at his ears.
Yeah, my baby look just like him.
Maury, look at his eyes, Maury.
Right.
Wow. I have a question, and I don't know if it's if it makes sense or not, but for an incarcerated father, how does he lose his rights to make parental decisions once he's incarcerated? Or is he still recognized as having a voice once a father is incarcerated?
So in Georgia, we have two types of custody. We have legal custody, which is how a child is raised, and you have physical custody, which is where a child lives. So if you look at the legal custody portion, a lot of it is going to depend on the situation. So was there a custody order in place before the person was incarcerated? So let's say there was, and maybe they have joint legal custody where they do have a say-so before. Well, it's going to be on somebody to go to court to get that modified now because that's already in place. And if it's not modified, I don't know what happens. They may still be able to have a say. But if there wasn't a court order already in place, it would kind of come down to the facts. But I don't know that an incarcerated person could take legal custody through court because there may be some decisions. It may be difficult to reach them. I think it's just going to come down to that particular case. But they can always, make their intentions known. Right. I don't know if it's going to be followed, but they can make their intentions known. But that's a little tricky when you get into whether they're going to have legal custody, especially if they're going to be incarcerated for a long period of time.
Yeah, because you ain't going to be calling my house collect telling me what I'm going to do.
Exactly.
Be like, I'm sorry, we out of time, bye.
We're talking about where the children go to school, whether they, which extracurricular activities they compete in. Like that, you really can't. If you're not there, it makes it difficult. You really can't control somebody else's household, but you don't even know all the facts. You don't, maybe that person is not a good athlete and it's a waste of money. And then the other thing is like with extracurricular activities, they have money assigned to it. So you can't even chip in for it. I don't know how much weight your opinion
for men or women, because, typically sometimes because we're women, we naturally say the man, but for men and or a woman who has a child support order, but they are incarcerated, does the child support still continue to accrue while they are incarcerated or?
And, it really depends. It used to be that way where it did. But I have seen some cases recently and the law has changed to also suggest that, if somebody is incarcerated and they don't have additional assets, then you may not put a child support order in place. But it's really going to depend on that particular situation in that state. Because again, I'm just talking about Georgia.
Right, Georgia.
But some people are incarcerated and they have money, they have money on the side. So that money could be used for child support purposes while they're incarcerated. So it's really dependent on the situation.
Okay, so how about this question? Because I just had a flashback while you were talking.
Okay.
What about the mother who can't catch the baby father, if for a lack of a better term? He gets incarcerated, and you know that he's incarcerated, say for instance, for something where he'll probably be sitting for like 60 to 90 days. Is it possible to file a child support order because now you know where he is? And to start the process, because it's like, oh, they got him for a second. Now let me go hurry up and go ahead. So once he gets out, it's on him already. Because all this other time I used to call my son's father the Jackal. You remember that old movie, The Jackal, where the man literally would go in a closet and come back out. He a totally different person. And I was like, this man is the Jackal because nobody can catch him. Not never, not ever. So for those who have Jackal, absentee parents, if they are incarcerated, can you have them served if you know you got that little window to catch them?
And that to me is the best time because we know you're not going anywhere. I mean, sometimes, people will be in a county jail and get, transported to the state prison. That's fine. But as long as I know where you are, then we can get you served. But remember, I talked about child support being based off of, both parents' income. So somebody that's incarcerated typically won't have income. Mm-hmm. However, in Georgia, when we look at the income, we won't put zero. We're going to put minimum wage. As long as you're an able-bodied adult, then you can put wage, which is about $156, I think, a month. So we're going to at least attribute that to you and input that impute that income to you. You can base child support off of that. Now, if they go get a job or you found out they hit the lotto or something like that, then you can come back after a certain period of time and ask for a modification. But if you're trying to get something on the books, I would definitely serve them while they were incarcerated if it's just for a short period of time that they're incarcerated.
That's when you're like, got them.
Yep.
Got him. Well, thank you, Samantha. Thank you so much. You have been such a beautiful wealth of information. I see people in the comments this is some great information.
Oh, yeah.
And you have been absolutely amazing. Now, our ICC audience is all over, but we do have a very large community in Atlanta, in Georgia. So tell our Atlantan ICC friends how they can connect with you if they have any of these areas that you specialize in and they need your help or they need your assistance or they want to set up a consultation.
Okay, so the first thing, to work with us, you can either give us a call at 678-390-3503. Or you can visit our website, which is, www.H for Holloway, B for Bell, LAWATL. So that's HBLawATL.com. And when you do that, you'll find a link either on our website or you can call and we'll schedule what's called a case review. It's totally free. It's 15 minutes. You speak with our office. They'll get some general information from you, determine whether your case is something that we handle, we can help you with, whether it works with our schedule. Sometimes people call us and they got a hearing the next day. So it might not work out, but they listen to the issues that you have, be able to say, this is something that we've done or something that we can help you with. And then they will schedule you for a time to talk with our attorney. Based off of the type of case that you may have. It might be a paid consultation, which those are typically $150 for 30 minutes, or it could be a free consultation. Our bankruptcy cases, they're free. Once you have the consultation with the attorney is going to go more into depth with you about your legal issue. We will discuss a strategy on what you need to do in order to get this resolved and give you a relative time frame to do that. And then they'll tell you how much it's going to cost for us to do it. And you can decide at that time, do you want to hire us? You can decide, I want to think about it. You can decide to represent yourself. Sometimes I tell people to represent themselves because, their case is not that complex. And so after that consultation, you'll get started and you can work with our firm. And like I said, we have some creative payment arrangements that we've been able to kind of refine throughout the years. Where a lot of people pay a deposit and then they pay on it monthly. We have the financing, like I mentioned. And for our bankruptcy, we actually have no money down bankruptcies. So
Wow.
that is an option as well.
Well, you know what? Let me chime in really quickly.
Sure.
Because you mentioned bankruptcy, and I know we probably didn't talk about that enough for those who, are in the pandemic and are, sometimes really trying to make ends meet. What advice or at what point would you tell somebody maybe it's time you need to look into filing bankruptcy?
And that's going to be an individual question.
Okay.
But
okay.
I would suggest giving us a call, because we can tell you, once we hear from you in that story, we can tell you that information for free.
Okay.
But just in general, if you get in a situation where you are not able to make ends meet, and you're getting calls from all sorts of creditors, this might be a good time to look at any sort of debt kind of consolidation or bankruptcy as an option to being able to handle it. And when I say consolidation, I don't mean the debt consolidation program where you pay $15 a month and they're supposed to pay all of your bills, because there's some issues with that.
Oh, yes.
But when I say debt consolidation, I mean on your own, getting all of your bills, trying to figure out, okay, how long is it going to take me to pay this off? How much do I take it every month? And is it not covering things? If you have gotten sued, whether you've gotten evicted, you have some other sort of personal lawsuit, Capital One comes and they're filing a lawsuit against you for an unpaid bill, you need to talk to a lawyer about bankruptcy, because if you get a judgment against you, they're going to garnish your check. So you've gotten garnished, you need to talk to a lawyer about bankruptcy, because the bankruptcy can stop a garnishment. If your house is about to be foreclosed, you need to talk to a lawyer about bankruptcy, because there are ways that we can save your house and stop the foreclosure. If your car has been repossessed, you need to call a lawyer about bankruptcy, because under bankruptcy, we can get your car back, but we got to do it within 10 days of the repossession or they're going to sell it. So if your car has just gotten repossessed or you're within that 10-day window, you need to call a lawyer.
Can I just give a shout out to everybody who had to sleep with one eye in the window, and every time you heard a truck pull up.
No, you did.
Listen, I'm not going to front. I am not going to front. I remember that, or hide in your car at your friend's house, or you hear that truck pull up in the, you hear beep, beep. You're like, oh Lord. So, shout out to all of y'all who've been there. I'm speaking from experience. I am not too far removed to say I have. Listen, I've been there. Right. I've been there. I wish I knew Samantha then, but it's okay. I'm going to save somebody else, because I couldn't save myself. I'm going to save somebody else. But Samantha, you have been absolutely incredible. You have been absolutely awesome. This is as fantastic and as awesome as I knew it would be. And, just shout out to all the ICC friends who came in and asked their questions, because by asking questions, you gave someone else somewhere clarity, especially with, Samantha giving this expertise from a queen. So I definitely appreciate you. And I just thank you so much. And I thank you for doing this so quickly with us. And I will make sure that you guys get all of her contact information as well as her social media handles. Follow her. She is absolutely beautiful and she takes a gorgeous picture. So make sure you go to her socials and be liking the pictures while you scroll, but thank you again just so much. Carla, did you have any questions before we roll out?
I did, but Samantha answered everything. I felt like I just sat in the class, right?
I know.
I feel like I can go out now and no, I'm just joking.
That's when I grab my briefcase and be regurgitating everything Samantha said. Like, nah, Bill, what you need to do with your baby daddy. I'm going to be a social media attorney now. And I'm going to be like, okay, so I'm going to get you this far. Then I'm going to pass you off to Samantha. Okay. Just that we know he locked up. Now it's time to call Samantha. But yes, just thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you. You are always welcome to come here. And, as we have more ICC friends who come along, maybe we could have you come maybe every quarter or something. I don't know. I would love.
That would be a good idea.
And have me back when you do your celebrity kind of talks about their issues. I had Cardi B and Offset. So one thing y'all don't know about lawyers is we are so nosy. So we went to the search website. I purchased the divorce complaint and the answer because I'm like, what are they talking about? So if you want somebody to interpret those documents for you, call me, because especially with this, when they had the PPP money and folks were getting arrested. I was reading all of the affidavits from the FBI agents. So I would love to come back and I can discuss all of those things with y'all too.
So when y'all catch me saying expertise source, y'all gonna be like, that was Samantha. Y'all know that was Samantha. When I be like, so our legal expert let us know, they be like, they asked and call Samantha again. Be like, I sure did. Call Samantha. Well, thank you again.
Idea.
And before I let you go, it is imperative that I ask you, what is your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Oh, I don't even know what you call it. It is some sort of, and Ben & Jerry's makes it, and then Walgreens made it. Okay. But it was like this chocolate ice cream with chocolate covered cashews and like little chocolate chips and stuff in it. It's not Moose Tracks, but it's something that's like that. I wish I could figure it. I wish I knew the name. It's Bear Claw. That's what
Bear Claw.
Publix calls it Bear Claw, and then Ben & Jerry's calls it something else. But,
okay.
Yeah, that sounds like a sugar rush to me is what it sounds like. It sounds like a sugar rush.
Chips and nuts and all sorts of like stuff in it. I like
sounds good.
Yeah, look, I'm already having a sugar rush. I gotta go, y'all.
Yeah.
Samantha to mess me up. I'm having a sugar rush. But thank you again so much, Queen. And we will stay connected and we will continue to build together. And we will have you back when we have those cases because that was an excellent idea.
Yeah.
You could be our resident.
Yeah, seriously.
So have a great day. We love you so much. And thank you again so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. I love me some Samantha. She is absolutely amazing. And that's a great idea to have her back.
That's an awesome idea. That's awesome. We got to get in the lab.
Because you know what? We could actually bring her back in and we could lay out all future baby mamas.
Girl, and my head is already churned. Like, the ideas is already like.
Be like, Samantha, what about this baby mama? How much you think? Okay, and then what about this? And you know what I forgot to ask?
What?
If a man can refuse a DNA test, like say for instance, if you want him to take a DNA test, if he can refuse to take one, like what type of legal ramifications?
That's a good question.
I might have to call her back. Hold on. Ring, ring, ring. Let me call her back. Samantha, hey girl, we had to call you back.
So if you ask somebody to voluntarily do anything, they could say, I don't want to. But typically when you're going to court, whether it's through child support court and they order a DNA test or through a judge, it's a court order. So if they refuse to show up to do the DNA test, they could be held in contempt of that court order. And the penalty for that could be a fine. It could be incarceration. But it's not just men. Sometimes women, because if you have the child and you're supposed to report there, you're supposed to bring the child. So sometimes, not all the time, the women file the case. Sometimes the men will file it to put themselves on child support if they want a DNA test. And if you don't show up with that child, you can be held in contempt as well. So that's just, that's that.
There it is.
See, this is why Samantha is the GOAT. Samantha left. I said, ring, ring. Samantha was like, what's up?
I'm ready.
Samantha, stay ready. You don't have to get ready if you stay ready. I love her. I love her so much. Thank you so much, Samantha.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right, bye. That's my girl. I was like, ring, ring. Samantha was like, hello. Awesome. She was like, cello. Awesome. Yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome. All right, ICC friends, thank you so much for tuning in today to our special episode of the Ice Cream Convos Podcast. It feels weird being on this side, Carla. Hold on, I got to get it right.
I know. I thought
okay. It feels weird being on the other side.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you for tuning in to this special episode of the Ice Cream Convos Podcast. I hope that you got some gems because Samantha dropped a lot of gems. She dropped a lot of knowledge.
She really did.
Yo, when I was battling my baby daddy in the streets, I wish she was around. I wish she was around.
It's all right.
Oh my gosh.
But pass it on. You're going to save somebody else.
I'm going to save. I couldn't save myself, but I'm going to save somebody else. So, if you are in Georgia or if you are in the Atlanta area and you need help in the area of bankruptcy, child support, child custody, paternity, all that good stuff, divorce, hopefully y'all could try to let's
Hey, you better.
But sometimes it don't work out that way. Sometimes you look Al Green playing on the record player, but you in the kitchen cooking grits. Sometimes it just don't work out. And if that is the case, and it definitely did not work out, with that being the case, call Samantha. She got you. Just tell her Ice Cream Convo sent you. She will take great care of you. All right, guys. So be sure to connect with us. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Connect with Ice Cream Convos, and be sure to listen to the Ice Cream Convos podcast on your favorite DSP. Rate, comment, subscribe, and tell a friend.
Yeah.
All right. So I love you guys, and we will be back here on Monday. Well, no, the new episode of the Ice Cream Convos podcast will drop on Tuesday, but the following week we will be back live. I don't know, Carla. We might have to get back live on Monday. I don't know. This thing felt real good.
It did. Yeah. So I think we can. I think so.
Okay. Well, we'll be here on Monday recording live. So be sure to check us out on Facebook and YouTube for the live tapings of the Ice Cream Convos podcast. Okay. So I love you guys. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Any parting words, Carla?
Not wear your mask, drink a lot of water, and just behave yourself. I feel like we need to say that to the whole country right now. Behave yourself.
Listen, because let me tell you something. The way I was eating popcorn, watching them white people show out yesterday, I was like, oh, they inside.
You know what I was like? Behave yourself.
Then I was like this. Oh, they shooting. God got her. Sorry to hear that. So it was a mess over there, but we all know that if it was a different hue for the crew, that thing would have been handled totally differently. So, we'll just leave it at that, but we'll talk more about that on Monday.
Yeah. So
we shall discuss on Monday.
Yeah.
All right. So be sure to listen to the most recent episode of the Ice Cream Convos podcast that was released this past Tuesday. And if you know someone who has any type of personal situation as far as child support, custody, and grandparents' rights and all those great things, please tell them to listen to this podcast or to watch this podcast.
Yes.
Because Samantha dropped some knowledge that you would have had to pay for in a lawyer's office.
Yeah, she really did. I don't know if y'all know that. I was
really surprised that she was dropping.
I was too. I was ready to break out my notebook.
Listen, while you was playing, I was about to try to hold my debit card up to the. I feel like I owe you something, sis. Like, damn, like you dropping. All I'm saying is, I wish she was around 26 years ago. That's what I say about that.
Amazing. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was awesome. A lot. All right. Well, ICC.
We all we got.
Peace out, y'all. We love y'all, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.